Good day, everyone. This is Charles Rather, Managing Partner at AM Law Group. As you all know, we focus on business immigration, how to effectively structure your move to the U.S. based on your talents, professionalism, career, investments, businesses in the U.S. And so connected with that, a lot of clients are asking questions, what state should I open my business in? And the short answer is probably whatever state is best for you to run your business. And it really depends on the type of business you have. For example, trucking business. There are a lot of different taxes and insurance regulatory regimes in different states. And so some states are definitely more favorable for truckers than others. For example, we're based in Florida. From my conversations with my clients, Florida is not the best place to base your truck business, especially because of the insurance rates. Insurance rates are quite high in Florida in general, I think, and for trucking, semi-trucks, larger trucks in particular, I think they're relatively high. From what I've heard from our clients, Ohio has a very good tax and insurance structure. North Carolina, South Carolina, I know those states also are very popular. So it really depends on what you're looking to doing, as tax regimes and situations can vary state by state. Also depends on where you're planning on living, because even if you have your business, say, in California, but you're factually, personally, spending almost all your time in, say, Florida, you're really a Florida resident. And if you have a pass-through LLC that you're using, you're going to pay taxes as a Florida resident, which in that particular case is good because taxes are generally higher in California than in Florida. So you've got to kind of look through all the different aspects of this to figure out where it might make most sense. We actually have a guide of like the top 5 jurisdictions in the U.S., 5 most popular, what are the pros and cons of investing in them. So go to our website, or here in the description of the video, we should have a link to download that guide from our website. As you probably know, some of the most popular jurisdictions are California, just because of the size of the economy. California probably is one of the least advantageous states from a tax perspective. They have a relatively high, if not maybe the highest, state income tax in the U.S. Plus there's federal taxes you have to pay. Incorporation fees, renewal fees for companies tend to be quite a bit higher in California than in other states. But if you just have to be there for whatever reason, maybe you're in the tech sector, you might not have a choice about operating in California. Texas and Florida are definitely up and coming states in terms of their popularity. Both states do not have a state income tax, so that makes them appealing. And they also have generally less regulation. So in terms of restrictions, regulations, and whatnot, Texas and Florida are relatively similar. They're warm climate states that appeal to a lot of our clients. So a lot of clients are looking at those jurisdictions. A lot of times people are looking at Delaware because they know a lot about Delaware. They've heard about, probably most, large corporations, Fortune 500 companies are registered, incorporated in Delaware. That's true because of the case law and the specific corporate the corporate court structures that exist there for businesses. But for small businesses, which is kind of the primary focus of our work, I really don't recommend necessarily Delaware over another state. Delaware is better for large corporations. Maybe if you're looking to raise capital in the future, bring in venture capitalists, then it might make sense to use Delaware, just because their state corporate law is so familiar and commonly used in venture capital circles and whatnot. But if you have a pretty small business that you're looking, and you're not looking to sell it or bring on investors, I really wouldn't consider Delaware. Some states are popular because of the confidentiality circumstances or confidentiality provisions that they have for companies in their states. Wyoming and Nevada come to mind immediately. Those are 2 very popular states because of their confidentiality. Also, they're popular in some cases when you're using trusts. But again, that's beyond the scope of this video. And for some people, those features might be important to them. So as from an immigration perspective, it really doesn't matter what state you're opening in or incorporating your business. There tend to be maybe more applications from some of the larger states like Florida, California, New York. So sometimes maybe, depending on the type of visa you're applying for, maybe the wait might be a little bit longer in those states. Again, it depends on what you're applying to. A good number of visa applications are handled centrally or maybe in 2 locations throughout the country. So it really doesn't matter if you're filing from California or Florida, they get looked at in the same location. But when you're doing some other processes like adjustment of status, change of status, which is done in the local level, that might affect your timing. So maybe in some smaller states in the middle of the country, it might be a little bit faster, but generally we don't see a big difference. So in short, from an immigration perspective, if you're thinking about what state is the best to incorporate, I would say look at where you're most likely going to be operating. Look at where you're going to need to open office, and 9 times out of 10 you're going to need some kind of office space. And if you open in that state, when you open the office, it probably in most cases makes sense just to incorporate in that state. You could open, for example, a company in Delaware, but its legal address or main operations are going to be in New York, for example. Well, from New York's perspective, you are basically a New York company since you're operating there. So you're going to have to pay all your taxes and your annual corporate registration stuff in New York in any case. Plus, you'll have to pay it in Delaware. So you're going to have to pay in 2 states. Generally, that's not a large amount of money, but if it's unnecessary and depending on the state, it could be somewhat pricey to maintain registration in 2 states. So it's probably generally best advice to just register your company in the state that you're planning to operate. For more information on this and other related topics, check out our videos and our channel. Leave your comments in the description below and we'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.